Hey, everyone. We are here with Kevin Cho, and I think, people have been asking about the Nightmare Doll deck that kind of went around every single region, beating up a lot of people. And we have the kind of the brains behind the deck here. Kevin, why don't you kind of introduce yourself a bit?
All right. I'm Kevin Cho. I'm a member of Team WCC, and I created this. Oh, I created with a bunch of help from, some other people. This Nightmare Doll deck that has been doing pretty well at Bro.
Yeah, pretty well.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the deck, what started it? What was the beginning idea behind it, right?
Okay. Well, I really liked Pale Moon ever since my friend, teammate Derek Dow, started doing really well with Hari, and I didn't particularly like Hari, so I looked into Nightmare Doll, and I saw it was pretty good. Even before the ban list, like it was still doing all right. And so at the beginning, when the ban list just first got announced, and when we were looking into like potential good decks, I saw I saw it didn't really get inhibited by the ban list, and so I wanted to give it a try.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it just turned out very, very well. I guess in terms of we're talking about like the metagame, right? No one really knew what was the metagame at the meta at the time, right? But this deck definitely is probably considered by several people to be the best deck, and I think most of us agree that this is probably the best deck right now, and probably will get better, right?
Definitely, yeah. As long as we don't see any hits, it will continue to be like really good because it's just really consistent and has like good defense and offense.
I mean, okay, let's kind of talk about one of the key. I think a lot of people have mentioned the key card behind this entire deck that kind of makes it all work, and that is like the Rolluck here, right? This Rolluck. What was the first idea behind, like, why is this such a linchpin of the deck, do you think?
Okay, well, I think it like comes down to premium and how the format is set up, because premium, in order to be effective like as a deck in premium, you need to have offense good enough that you're gonna break your opponent's combo, like you're gonna interrupt them and empty their hand, or you just need defense that's really, really solid. Like we saw that with Ange at the beginning of the format. And so basically decks like, I don't know, Excel clans in general who don't have enough defense, you want to like try to buff them a little bit, and that's why the idea came to mind that we can add Rolluck into the deck, and it automatically adds defense, helps you get to your combo, but this deck takes a special usage of it because it can go back down to grade 2.
Yeah, and I guess like people were also raving about like Bikun being very well, but in terms of like solving the problem for the deck, it's the Rolluck just fits that nice niche where your early game might not be the greatest, right? Just like early game just before grade 3, which is it's like pretty much one turn, right? It solves that one turn, and then like the kind of maybe the later turn if you jump down. This just solves that problem. Like a 1-card guard, nothing really gets better than that, right?
Yeah, nothing gets better than a 1-card guard, In the early game, that's the most vulnerable spot, so, And,
I think the scary part of this deck, too, is that once you reach your first stride, the combo is actually just insane, right? Like, the potential, like, one-shot, like, I think we saw it on stream as well, is just really, really good. But maybe do we want to kind of talk about like the compositions on maybe how we got to these kind of specific numbers of the deck? Do you think, or
okay, like the quantities of the cards?
Yeah. Okay, let's start with the grade 3s, right? We like the grade 3s always cool. So we got the Heal Guardians. Actually, one question about the Heal Guardians. This is a Nightmare Doll Heal Guardian. Does it ever really come into play for you? Like how much does the naming come into play?
Yeah, I mean, I was testing a lot with it before the Heal Guardians came out, and the only big difference that the name does is that if you can soul charge it off of any of your random soul charges or a Caro, and you have access to an Abigail in your hand or in your soul, and you can pull it out. You can recycle the Heal Guardian from your soul to your hand. So I did that like all of one time to buff my defense for the following turn. But you know, it's
like the 1% kind of thing, is it? Like, you know,
yeah.
But apart from that, like you ran like 3 Chelseas here, 4 Carol. I guess like the Carol and the Alice is pretty much a given, right? And Heal Guardians are Heal Guardians. But the Chelsea's at 3. Is there a reason for that? I mean, it's removal, but anything else or?
Absolutely. So the Chelsea, the other spot or the other card that would like compete with it for this spot is like the Chimera, that Soul Blast to counter charge. And we were initially testing with that, but it just wasn't high impact enough because at that point that you had combo, normally one counter blast wasn't actually going to make too much of a difference. They either flipped enough damage triggers to stop you, or you know, like 2 to 3 counter blasts was going to kill them. But yeah, so you know, you only need 3 to proc Karo's skill and some potential early game Hana Lise, and yeah.
Yeah, I think like with the other list, it's pretty much like a 1 card difference, right? Some people like the Chimera, so they just ran like 2 Chelseas instead, but then you opt to just go with the 3 Chelseas, which is like it's pretty just removing cards, especially like early game, just kind of nice, right? Controlling the board. Because I think just another point we kind of talk about is like the meta at the moment, you know, is very early game oriented, and do you think people have really figured that out, or?
Yeah, I definitely think people have figured it out based on my play test or what I played against over the weekend. A lot of people were challenging me to grade 2 game and you know, contesting for first stride. So that was really you know, shows that everybody really knows that the grade 2 game is really important. A lot of, you know, Luard, a lot of Grand Blue being played, and those decks are pretty solid at grade 2. So
yeah, and I mean, I think just a lot of people thought that, hey, you know, the format slowing down means that, you know, everyone's gonna like stay playing very long. But I think the opposite has kind of happened. People just kind of identified fighting for first stride is important, right? And Chelsea helps that. You can punish them while going back down to grade 2. That's like a double whammy, right? So yeah, I think it's a pretty crazy tech. What about grade 2s, right? 2s, I think like the Ginny is pretty much you need 4 because you need to see it. But then like the Ellen here, right? Counterblast 1, you know, you need a Counterblast 1. It's a pretty high cost and premium, right? Why this one, dude?
It is a decently high cost. However, the thing that's cool about Ellen is that she brings a little bit of diversity to your plays. She brings like a little bit of defensive plays if you absolutely can't finish. Because if you're using Counterblast, most of the time you're just using it for Alice spam.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, you know, one direction. Like you don't really do anything besides trying to aggro with that.
Yeah.
So if you need the defense, you know, Ellen brings a little bit of it to the table.
I guess there's weird situations where, like, you know, you just maybe you bricked a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever like? Is this ever like an early game card coming up for you, or do you kind of just play a bit more conservatively?
Yeah. A couple times, or all of one time, because there's only 10 grade 2s. I was able to play a second Marissa and what's her name, Erin, and I was able to swing with everybody and draw because I knew I was not in danger in the following turn, so I could give as much damage as possible, as possible. So
sure,
yeah.
And I mean, there is Marissa herself. I think just draw this card, right?
yeah, just draw it. It's insane.
I mean, just draw it, but make sure you hit at least one.
Yeah.
You hit at least one. I guess we can kind of talk about Carol as well. Like, we talk about Chelsea, you know, we may skip Carol, but I think there's actually a lot to talk about Carol. Even though it's just like kind of a staple card as well. But yeah, Carol, what's your thoughts on it? Insane, right?
Carol, yeah, she's absolutely insane. She's no NOK, you know, NOK was crazy, but she's you know, a combo, definitely. She lets you go down to grade 2. On ride, she allows you to set up your soul, a lot of the time after doing all your deck thinning, you find a grade 3, and it's just a free call. It helps you out. But yeah, going down to grade 2 in a grade 2 game environment is pretty crazy. It gives you all of the benefit without any of the risk.
Yeah, and I think, this is one of the reasons why when going first with this deck against especially like unsuspecting opponents, it's just so strong, right? Like literal insanely favored, right? Yeah, I detest this matchup. Very, very unfun. All right, let's look at the grade 1s. We talked about Rollock, but we'll talk about Abigail, right? Abigail. This one's kind of interesting, right? Does a few options. What's the thoughts on this?
Abigail's a really solid card, honestly. She commits to letting you countercharge, so she refunds your plays at the end of the turn. And she's not GB, of course, so she can refund your counterblast at the end of your Aaron turn on turn 2, at the end of your combo turn on turn 3, and just at the end of your first Stry turn if you want to add a grade 3 back to your hand and dust them in the following turn, like Mark did in the finals.
Yeah, that is, like, the dust play is actually insane, like, because, dust kind of just fell out a bit, right? But now it's kind of come back because, like, this deck actually utilizes it, like, way better than, like, basically other, Dark Zone decks. And, I mean, Castile used to just NLK. Maybe we'll see more from that, but, this one, because it's just got the nice combination of like multi-attacks plus negating all your opponent's stuff. It's anything that can help with that plan is like really good. I guess with this as well, you can kind of plan ahead with it. Yeah, like you kind of lock down your opponent, especially like in the early like grade 3, grade 2 games where you only have like one CB. Yeah. And you use it that one turn, and then you flip a face up, and it's kind of like checkmate, right? Hey, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna damage deny me again? I've got one CV. I'll continue doing the same thing I've been doing, right?
Absolutely. Also, Dust. This is the only deck that you don't have to draw a heal trigger to access Dust, because because Darkside Princess is a 3-card flip already on the first stride.
Wow, yeah, that is true. That Darkside Prince is insane.
Actually, insane card.
And then, I mean, the Leslie is kind of self-explanatory, but I think that there's, I think on stream we kind of talk about like value Leslies. You've been getting multiple Leslies, one Alice, right? It's just as value as it gets. Is there any specific like positionals you want to set up with Alice and Leslie? Like, I think one of the mistakes is people just putting the Leslie on the Excel circle and then just have like one Alice like by herself kind of swinging. But from all the plays I've been watching, it's been just put the Leslie at the back and the Alice in front of it and just go one combo, right?
Absolutely, yeah, because that column just hits over 1 damage trigger automatically.
Yeah. And
those are your worst enemies, so
even double damage triggers, it hits like 34, right? So
yeah, as long as you get 1 trigger, you're already hitting over 2 damage triggers. Yeah, so it's really good.
So guys, like just be careful. This is the knowledge, right? This is the knowledge that they're getting, and then all the other Leslies are just like value Leslies.
Yeah, absolutely. The other one would normally be on the Excel circle. It's like a 27.
Yeah, 27, right? I mean, like the value, like one Alice, all your Leslies stand. Like, come on, man. That's
pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
And what about the trigger lineup? I mean, we have the Dark States over trigger, and then we got 7 crits. Like, I think another list was running like stands. Just I guess to soul in. Getting specific targets, but straight up crits, draws, and over trigger. Right, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so for the over trigger, I have to thank Derek Dow for pointing it out. Like that, the over trigger this one is just much more impactful than the Crayon and Unsel one.
Okay.
Just because if you get the early crits, you're already sending your opponent a little bit higher, and then they can't be taking as much damage later on. So it's really good. And yeah, otherwise, crits have always been like the way to go if you want to make sure your opponent can't put damage triggers, just to send them a little higher earlier. And also the crits are just too strong in premium because they actually have like really impactful effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the stand is just too slow.
Okay, right. The stand is slow, and it's 15k shield. Come on, right?
Yeah,
it's better than 10k shields. And starter, like we don't care about like the old 4 or anything. Just V starter, right? Literal +2 sometimes. Yeah. Okay.
Draw combos.
The G zone. How did you guys develop the G zone though? What were really?
Oh, the G zone.
I mean,
okay.
Like 2, like here you were running 2 Dark Lord Princess, right? Would you up it to 3? I think like, or is just 2 enough?
I think 2 is probably enough because, with both of your Dark Lord Princesses, you can automatically recycle like one Yvette because it strides into the face up Yvette, and on that 3rd stride, you can just straight up stride into the Yvette if you ever reach the 3rd stride. I don't those don't even happen very often. To be honest, you normally have set up dust at that point too. So, also one big thing that's like really important is that every now and then you actually need to first stride into Yvette.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
Because you need to have the Leslie out to absorb triggers, and if you don't have a way to get Leslie out in the main phase, like you don't have one in hand, she's stuck in soul for whatever reason, and you want her to see most of your drive checks, then you have to go into Yvette first.
Okay.
So yeah, it's the perfect. It's the 2-2. I think it's like perfect.
Yeah, that's because I was thinking, right? Why not just run the 1 Yvette then? But I guess like the 2, like the second one just kind of comes up and being those like niche scenarios again. There's few percentage points. Why Formido though? Why Formido? This one.
Oh, okay. I definitely have to thank Solemn and WeRev for that one.
Okay.
Solemn pointed out the card, and I was talking to WeRev about like potential matchups like decks with Hanali, and we were sitting there thinking because Chelsea can't suck in a Hanali if you're on a stride.
Yes.
And we're like, man, what card could empty their board so that Grand Blue can't use their control, and if they just have a Hanali on the board, like maybe Luard has a Hanali and they just passed you the turn.
Yeah.
Like what card could get over this, but it's first stride? And we're just sitting and we're like, oh, duh, Formido. And you build up all the circles with your multiple riding of Karos.
Yeah.
Yep. So you always have like empty circles, and your opponent's gonna have to choose, their Hanali or their rear guards in Grand Blue. So you basically counter control decks with it.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Let's kind of talk about the Big Daddy Dust as well, right? Big Daddy Dust.
Big Daddy Dust. Man.
We talked about it just before, but I mean when this first was shown on stream, I think a lot of people were going like, "Whoa, crazy, right? It's dust. It's gonna get dusted, dude." Like, what? Tell us what this is for. That's what this is for. In case people forgot.
Dust he's for everything, honestly. As long as you have the setup, he's an amazing finisher. Like, so basically, he nullifies all of their abilities and he sets them to grade 1. Those are the important effects. Because it locks out G-Guards, which means it locks out most of the control clams, and it turns off abilities, so it shuts off Hanali. And that basically takes care of all your bases, because those are the 2, difficult hurdles to overcome. Hanali and control.
The other one is Freeze Ray. Shuts off Freeze Ray, I guess. If you ever see it.
Absolutely.
How many? I gotta ask you. How many times when you dusted your opponent during testing or in real games did you hit an overtrigger with the 1 damage?
One time. It was the damage that they got hit with the dust, and then it was I'll pick up my cards.
Oh man, the worst case scenario. One thought though, right? One thought though. If your opponent wasn't playing one of those denial clans, is there any scenario where you go, okay, instead of dusting, I would go like Dark Lord Princess and Yvette combo again? Because is the potential in that combo higher, or is it always dust?
Oh, well, like, just as a basic guideline, if you have to make sure you have counterblast after you hit a 2 for dust.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, there's no real point
Yeah.
to but anyways, one good scenario is if you don't have a Leslie, but you do have an Alice. Because under dust they're at power 1, so that Alice on the Excel circle is 22 per counterblast. And that could be, that could be really, really strong, even without the Leslie for finishing it.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense when I think about it. The other interesting thing I was thinking about, like, with the 4 Harrys, I thought like people, like, I don't know, unfortunately this Harry is ultra small. Unfortunately, even though deck log has been really good, right? But they're still missing some PRs. Yeah, the Harry, right? I'm surprised that, how many times do you actually go into Harry? Because I think even though you're running 4 of it, everyone kind of just goes into, like Dark Lord Princess first, of course, but then just goes in the event, right? So I think, like, in terms of how many Harrys we saw, like, on stream, there weren't that many for something that just ran at 4 in the G zone. What do you think?
Well, we just have a lot of space, honestly, so we're able to run like cards that are only like really situational. It's kind of like Ezo running the Salvation. So this Hari is basically just for Link Joker matchups because he picks up the cards. But otherwise, he's just using Counterblast without supplying like any power to your units. So he's not.
Oh, okay. Alright, that's interesting. I know, like, for your list, you weren't running. I think it's Beatrix, right?
Beatrix.
Is there a reason why you just decided not to run her? Or?
Oh, okay. Well, I think Beatrix and Formido serve a pretty similar purpose. For like, Beatrix will put you down to grade 3, so you have access to Chelsea. But Formido will clear their board, so they don't. So you don't need Chelsea. So yeah, that's kind of my rationale. Beatrix doesn't supply any more drive checks, so I'm not too big.
Okay, yeah, I guess like even though she is a workeroid, right? So I think it solves the same issue as like the Formido, I guess. Well, Formido gives you like free stride as well, right?
Yeah, free stride and a potential draw and the soul for Alice. So
yeah, true. It field wipes everything. So, yeah, good times. G guards. We got like Jester Dragon. I think a lot of people, like, when playing old Pale Moon, they only think of Harry. So when they think of like battle phase tricks, right, they're always thinking of like the perfect guard, combo, and then something comes out. But Jester Dragon is surprisingly really, really good, right?
He's really solid, being able to call anything from soul, because it means if you randomly soul charge, I don't know, like over trigger or PG, you have access to those still. Really nice. He gives you access to countering Zoa, which is really nice. Yeah.
I think so. Like, because people are running like those old Harry PGs, right? They're like, they forgot that the draw trigger, especially even I forgot, the draw trigger, you can just call this out with it, like draw trigger null, bam. Easiest defense of your life, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Just like Grand Blue. Yeah,
it has that specific call it, right? That just makes everything work. So and this card is actually surprisingly hard to find. I realized it's like came out in one like character booster. So yeah, it's just a really, really good card. Really good card. What about the other G Guardians? Do you ever really go into Cool Bard is just here for the unflip, or?
The flip for G Zone? Yeah, he's just an additional 15,000. Like if you have one critical in soul to call the Jester Dragon, so that's a 30k. You can go into the flip G Guard first, and that's another 30k.
Oh, that's a lot of guarding.
Yeah, so you have access to 2 30ks even if you only have one critical in soul. So that's kind of nice.
Okay, all right. And I guess Maja. How about her?
Yeah, Maja, and I'm losing. What's the name of the other two guy? The other pink one?
Furnival.
Yeah, Maja and Furnival actually basically take the a very similar role. Furnival they're both used to dig for an Alice or anything, or Alice and a Leslie that you might not have. But the one that soul charges 3 supplies the soul 4 Alice in case you're like really low on soul and you need it for the following turn. The Furnival is better for deck thinning. So, and he gets 5k for all it matters.
Okay, and then I mean, Dismal is Dismal.
Yeah, Dismal's.
It's just how it is. Do you want to talk anything more about Dark Lord Princess? I think everyone just kind of knows how good Dark Lord Princess is, right? Just the best.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a pseudo restanding Vanguard.
I mean, why would you go into anything else, right?
Yeah.
Why would you go into anything else?
Way too good.
So I think overall this deck just kind of performed really well over the weekend. Like 2 regions dominated by it.
Yeah. The deck is absolutely nuts in this current format. I think you just have way too much versatility. It has a pretty high skill cap, I will say.
Yeah.
But as long as you can, play test with it and get used to the combos, you're good. Like, man, there's not a lot of things that will threaten it.
Would you want to change anything with kind of this deck? This is specifically your deck that you took to BR. Is there anything you want to like change with it? Maybe like a one card difference or anything like that, or has it just been working fine for you?
I couldn't change anything. It worked absolutely perfectly. I even any substitutions, like when I'm thinking about them, I can't put them in. Like the cards that are in right now function too well.
Okay.
For me.
I mean, it's perfect, right? If it's perfect, why change it? This is the Mona Lisa of That's right. All right, Kevin. Anything you want to add? Anything
I want to add? Just a few. Thank you to all of my teammates. We tested so much. Thank you for doing so well with this deck. Like it's awesome. It's awesome. Thank you to everybody who tested with me, the last couple weeks. I really wanted to get to know this format, and I appreciate your help. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Kevin. Giving us your insights, man. Giving us your insights on this deck, especially like
Anytime, guy. Anytime.
Like, I think you're like Mr. Rolluck now, man.
Mr. Rolluck. Oh
Mr.
no.
Rolluck. Buddy Rolluck. You are the Rock, boy. Dude. You are the Rock now.
I'm the Rock. Oh, yes. That's my name. I'm no longer the chosen one. I'm the Rock.
Yeah. The Cho Rock, dude.
Oh.
Yeah, but no, it's good having you on. I love talking to all the WCC guys, and time differences aside, we make it work. So yeah, thanks for coming on, Kevin, and yeah, we'll get him next time, right?
Hell yeah.
All right, and yeah, subscribe and let us know what you think in the comments of the deck, and I'll see you next time, and hopefully you'll see Cho next time too. Yeah.